preparing everything for day 4 of the Path to Presence retreat. Just taking a moment. There we go. 4 of the Path to Presence. Okay. My dog has decided to join us again. She's moving the computer around and stepping on my notes. Florrie, go sit down. Oh my goodness. She's a little too big for me to pick up. Now she's collapsed in my lap. So welcome to the Path to Presence retreat, day 4. It's an exciting day here as we're starting to really build on that momentum and that spark, your why of what may have brought you here and may have led you to want to develop or maybe deepen a regular meditation practice. So I know everyone's just kind of popping in here for a moment. Feel free to say hi if you're joining on Facebook, or even if you're watching the replay. I always like to see who's actually tuning in, right? We get well over 100, 150 people who actually sign up for things. But then I know people watch the replay. Some people have good intentions, never actually manage to make it. So I like to see who's showing up. And it is also the 3 days in the retreat when we do the giveaways. Today, I consider to be my big giveaway, which is the full scholarship to the not Path to Presence, full scholarship to Calm Mind, Clear Heart, which is my 6-week meditation program. So yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, as Elaine says in Zoom. Absolutely, wherever you might be tuning in from. And feel free to write where you're tuning in from, because it's always interesting. And we're getting a sense of community. It's nice to do this in community with others as well. So a very brief review, very short review here. Day 1, we looked at why you might be wanting to develop a meditation practice, how it, we're trying to tailor the whole practice to work for you and to fit your life where you're at now. So we look at why, what benefits you might be seeking. We also looked at the myths of meditation, what meditation is not, and how you might have to also kind of shift some of your expectations around meditation. Day 2, we looked at when and how to set the timing for your meditation practice, how to consider when it would be easiest for you, as well as when it might benefit you most and tie into your big why. And and then a lot of tips. The when part actually and the timing, there's so many different little tiny tips. And one, which I didn't talk about much, but I'll talk about it more probably tomorrow, is to really start small, start simple, to kind of master the habit. We want to see our meditation practice as a habit. And we want to master the habit. We don't start with a half-hour meditation, even if that's our long-term goal. We start with 4 minutes of meditation. We master the habit of showing up. It's that showing up regularly that can be so challenging. And then we start to grow the practice, and we get to be playful and have a beginner's mind and curiosity and continue to kind of fine tune. Yesterday, we looked at where, continuing to see our practice as a habit. We looked at the role of context and cues, what might kind of prompt us to keep showing up. Of course, a really obvious one, I don't know if I mentioned yet, is you can always schedule it into your phone or your calendar, setting actual reminders using clock and calendar type apps and things like that. So, and I think I mentioned visual cues are helpful, even putting it on a sticky note if you have like a physical calendar or a sticky note somewhere on your work area or a mirror or somewhere you're more likely to see it. So today we're going to look at the question of who is walking this path to presence. And we're going to look at who as it relates to your practice, the role of identity in building and maintaining your practice as a habit. And then we'll explore the same question of identity a little bit of who as a topic of investigation in meditation, which is kind of a big, deep topic. So we're just going to touch on it a little bit, different ways of the relational aspect of meditation and the sense of how we relate to ourselves and what we're experiencing. So I asked in the beginning here to mention where you might be joining in from. And we have Elaine joining in from Central Scotland, and Vanessa joining in from Beverly, Massachusetts, kind of near me. I'm in Marblehead, North Shore of Boston, Massachusetts. So yeah, feel free to let us know where you might be joining in, even if you're watching a replay. I do see I always get a lot of folks locally and in the UK and in Canada, and a few in Australia. That seems to be how it goes. But where are you coming from? Maybe every once in a while there's people coming in from like South Africa or Germany or things like that. So who, as it relates to your identity, building an identity-based habit is helpful because the habit grows from within. So we want to think about who you want to become. And there's a quote, I think it's from James Clear: behavior that doesn't sync with beliefs about the self and identity won't last. So we know that spark of why we're wanting to meditate, that reason, that benefit, that's providing the fuel for the journey, right? That motivation just gets us started. But then the real issue is like, how do we keep showing up? How do we keep being consistent and regular and coming to practice? And one piece of that is our own sense of identity. Our own sense of identity, and also sort of our community as well. So you can do this. It's been suggested there might be 2 steps to this, creating an identity-based habit. One is you decide the type of person that you want to be. And then you, number 2, prove it with small wins. And you can reverse engineer the type of person you want to be if necessary, if that's not apparent. And you just kind of see the gaps that need to be covered. So for example, I want to be a calm, clear, caring person or partner or parent or any of those roles. So I have short meditation sessions that train me to be present and self-aware, so I react less and can take spacious pauses in my life when I need to. That's kind of a long one, but it could be simpler than that too, right? Who you want to be. Maybe you want to be, just as a slightly different one, maybe you want to be like a dynamic, energetic, vibrant person. And the meditation is supporting you because it's giving you really good sleep and a sense of self-care and integrity. So there can be like a lot of ways to go about it. So thinking about the person you wish to become, which is, spoiler alert, the homework for today. So who also relates to our culture and determines what behaviors are attractive. So this is environment in a way that's a little different from what we looked at yesterday in terms of the area that we might choose to meditate, the stuff that we might have, things like that. Also, that was the homework for yesterday, and I only had a couple people submit things, but sometimes people need time to catch up. So if you still want to participate, send me a photo or post one in the Facebook group about your meditation spot, and I might showcase some of them tomorrow as we're doing a little tie-in, a little review. So our culture and this idea of what sorts of behaviors are attractive. We tend to imitate the habits of 3 social groups: the close, family, friends, the local community; the many, which is like our sense of our tribe, that tribal identity; and the powerful, those with status and prestige. So to build good habits, it really helps to join a culture where your desired behavior is a normal behavior, and you already have something in common with the group. This is the importance, one of the reasons I love to actually work more in community. I like to offer small group programs. The Path to Presence retreat, I know we get a lot of people signing up, but I know it's, rarely more than like 20 people who are really tuning in the whole time, or maybe 30. So, and in my Calm Mind Clear Heart, I keep it to 10 people to really keep that sense of community, so you can really kind of get a sense of each other and get to know one another. Giovanni says, those in the community who have already achieved the goal show you it's possible. Those who haven't yet achieved it show you it's okay to fail temporarily, and the process takes time and you need to persevere. So there's so many benefits to having a community as well. So that's also why we have the Facebook group, which sometimes I've considered not like totally scrapping and just doing the retreat on Zoom. Indeed, it can be a little awkward sometimes to like set up all the technology pieces, but I really like the opportunity to really see who's tuning in and have more comments, have something that goes on after the live piece. So who is doing the asking? This is looking at who in terms of a topic of investigation, meditation. So meditation is a really great opportunity to look at who you are. For example, you can just kind of be curious, who am I when I'm just being, not doing? This is a really big one. I'm going to tie in a little bit to our meditation today. We spend so much of our lives doing, and so much of our sense of worth and value is tied up into our capacity to do and what we do. Often our identity, most of the time when you go to some sort of social function and you ask someone, what do you do? They're probably not going to answer, I meditate 20 minutes a day. But this might be an important part of your identity too. And we also get to be curious, who am I when I shine the light of awareness on everything that tends to go unnoticed and happen under the radar, or what Tara Brach likes to call in the trance. So all sorts of thoughts and attitudes and feelings that tend to go unnoticed. Meditation gives us that opportunity to pause and be with all that's arising. Another interesting point, knowing that everything that arises also ceases, and we ourselves are not impervious to the natural law of impermanence, then what happens to who we are? So I'm just kind of offering these out as lines of inquiry, which can be, especially that last one, I think gets explored a lot in more Zen practices. So at the sort of more basic, but not necessarily easy part of things, the simple part of things, is this shift from doing into being that tends to occur in meditation, even with things like walking meditation. And if you're new to meditation and you've never heard of walking meditation and you just don't understand what that is, that's something we do a little bit of in my Calm Mind Clear Heart program. It's a great practice, but it's not walking to get anywhere. It's a way of sort of that mindful movement of being aware with each step. So what's happening when you're not doing anything in meditation, when you're just opening to being? Few things you might notice. You might notice your body a little bit more. It tends to be more included in your general awareness. Often you get a sense of the perspective expanding. We tend to kind of be in our little rabbit holes, going from rabbit hole to rabbit hole often. And when we just kind of open, there's a real opening into being. You might notice the monkey mind. You might notice that mental chatter and the ephemeral and often random nature of thoughts and feelings. And maybe you remember what matters most to you. Maybe you encounter who you are or new parts of you that have nothing to do with any doing. Maybe you notice you're okay right now, despite so much going on in your life or in the world, and you're okay just in being. And there's even more than this, but really taking this pause to simply be is such a simple but profound practice. So a few tips about being and doing nothing. Meditation is like gardening or resting. It requires some planning, some care, effort, but ultimately the body rests and plants grow while doing nothing. That is kind of like my hack for self-compassion when you find it hard to give to yourself because you feel so called upon to give to others, but knowing that when you're giving to yourself, it's overflowing into giving to others, right? The doing mind wants to be productive and effective, but it also includes something that's called the discrepancy monitor, which is always noting the difference between what is and how we want something to be. It involves the continual monitoring and evaluating our current situation against a model or a standard, an idea of what is desired or required, expected or feared. So we get a chance sometimes when we're shifting from doing into being to see that even. And when you're trying to embrace doing nothing, just being, it can be helpful to set an intention. Resting in awareness isn't taking a vacation. Meditation isn't piecing out necessarily. That intention is essential. We're relaxing in order to become more available to ourselves, to others, to life. Because when we actually give our bodies and minds the ease that they need, that's when the energy and spaciousness and emotional resilience that we've been missing can come back online a bit. So you might start by reminding yourself of that you're doing this to be more awake, more alive, more available. Or maybe I should say, not doing this, you're being. So those are some tips on who and how it relates. I'm pausing to see if there are any other thoughts or questions. Good morning to the few folks in Zoom. Yes, Sandy here too. And most of the people who are showing up, the good news is you've been on my list for the scholarship. And I'm going to pause before we do our meditation practice to do the giveaway. Sometimes I find I love to be able to do something for free and to give back to community and even to have giveaways and to spark a little extra motivation and accountability. I really do it with a happy heart, but I don't like having to pick. I don't like having to pick because you're all worthy and I appreciate you all showing up so much. It's kind of stressful for me to pick. So I definitely outsource it to like random name picker on the internet. So I did that last night and I thought, okay, I'm gonna do it once. I'm not gonna do it again because then there's that tendency as well. So the Calm Mind, Clear Heart is a 6-week program that will start in the first full week of November, which is November 6th. We choose the time. This is one of the questions. I'm just going to get a few of these questions and tell you a little bit about it. We choose the time, and it'll be 6 weeks of weekly live calls, as well as a whole pre-recorded program on meditation. And it has it's self-paced. You have 6 months to complete it. You don't have to complete it in 6 weeks. And the as I mentioned, the live calls, the programs, they're limited to a small group, just 10 people. And it's so you can continue to have this check-in, this accountability when life gets in the way to really support you in developing a practice. I designed the program to really, actually this content is the first week of the 6-week program. And then we continue to deepen it and explore lots of other practices. We go deeper into self-compassion in the Calm Mind, Clear Heart. We look at everyday mindfulness, meditation, like walking meditation, eating meditation, things like that. We explore like a much wider range of techniques and approaches to meditation, lots of compassion-based practices, which we'll get into a little bit tomorrow. And then we have discussion, during the live calls. That's a really important part to integrating things. And there's a 30-page workbook. So you can, this is a version of the workbook from when I used to teach it as a 5-week class. And there's like places to log your meditation, and there's a poem in here and some questions and all kinds of stuff. So there's some resource list at the back here and things like that. So I try to provide a one-on-one session with me as well, a one-on-one session to kind of really dial things in, to troubleshoot any issues that are coming up, or just really to check in and to have that kind of deeper accountability. So that's pretty much, about the program. It's for everyone, right? It doesn't matter. Again, with that community, you might be just starting learning about meditation, or you might have been meditating for 28 years. So it's for everyone who wants to create more space to really support yourself with this self-care practice and to find that breathing room and balance in your life, not choosing to respond rather than react. And there are lots of great apps and other things that can help you with meditation. And I encourage you to continue to show up in your practice using whatever you can. But I did try to make this like a immersive kind of deeper experience that's also integrating into your life over that 6 weeks. All right, so I think that's everything. All right, and so I'm happy to announce, let me see if I can find it. Here it is. I am going to show you who won because I show you my little screen share. All right, and the winner for this full scholarship is Elaine De Silva Allen, who I think is joining in from Scotland, right? And she's here on Zoom. So congrats, Elaine.
I won.
You won.
Oh.
Yeah, you won. I know. It's great.
Bye.
Okay, yeah, thanks for appearing.
Bye.
Yay. So I'll be reaching out to you and anyone who else wants to join. You're welcome to join. I do have a couple more giveaways. So if you were like, darn, I really wanted that giveaway, there's a couple more little things. So hopefully, you'll stay tuned in that way. I'm just doing this program once a year, I should mention as well. I used to offer it more often, but I found it went better when I could kind of concentrate it into one thing. And I like doing it this time of year, right before the holidays. It's really helpful to kind of get into a good rhythm, even going into Thanksgiving if you live in the US, any of the year-end holidays in December. Yeah, so congrats to Elaine. I will reach out. I appreciate all of you for showing up. There's another giveaway tomorrow for Circle and Bloom program. And then I have a feedback survey I send out at the end, and I pick another random giveaway person in the feedback. Yeah, so you're welcome, Elaine, no problem. Now let's sit and do some meditation. Make sure I covered everything here in my list. Yep. Today, we're going to work a little more with the senses, and we're going to work with sound and listening. But we're going to do so with a real eye to the being rather than doing. Working with sound can actually be a very calming way to kind of shift into a more receptive, right? We're really receiving sound, a more receptive, a more being kind of a place. All right, so I'm going to drink my sip of tea and invite you into a comfortable posture. And one more thing to add is don't forget we have some bonus days. I should be mentioning these early. Saturday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, New York, Boston, etc., is a live Q&A through Zoom where I finally do get a chance to hear more of your voices, and you're welcome to bring me any questions. And we will do a practice too. And then a follow-up on Monday about all kinds of objections and obstacles, getting sleepy, having trouble with the different routines, all different kinds of obstacles and troubleshooting that we do. All right, so now we're just going to take some time to begin to shift from doing into being. And take some time to settle. So pausing as you start the practice to notice your body sitting. Sit and know you're sitting or lying down. Maybe you take some time to feel those touch points, to land right here, right now, arriving into your body. And just tuning inwards, noticing sensations in the body. Let that include the movement of breath. As we come into stillness, still there's movement within. Not only the breath, the heart beating, but also the movement of thoughts and feelings as well. Just as we worked with our body awareness and posture yesterday, feel that inhale stretching up the spine, bringing that sense of dignity, alertness, awareness, lightness. And each exhale, softening any tension, letting yourself sink a little deeper into the ground. Feel how the ground holds and supports you. If you haven't closed your eyes already, you might want to do that now, or you can let your gaze be soft. Maybe you loved practicing with your eyes open. That's always an option. And just taking a moment to establish our presence, to invite ourselves to arrive right here, right now. Breathing in, know you're breathing in. Breathing out, know you're breathing out. And we'll begin to shift from the doing into being, simply by letting your sound, letting your attention land in the opening of your ears and just becoming receptive to the soundscape around you. Turning your attention to sounds near and far, sounds in the room, in the building, outside and beyond. Start to notice, start to tune in. And let the sounds come to you, just placing your attention at the opening of your ears and hearing moment to moment, sound to sound. Noticing sounds that are natural or man-made. Notice sounds that are near or far. You may even note the absence of sound and silence, the space between. And we hear only the sounds of this moment, not the sounds of the past or the future. We're using the sound to really become oriented right now. And also noticing how the sounds arise all on their own. As we sit largely quiet, largely still, the sounds come to us. They're always there, just like the breath is always there. Just tuning in, opening that door of the senses. Sounds arise on their own, and notice as they might change, maybe rising or falling in pitch or volume. Maybe the sounds stop or fade into the distance. Just starting to notice, bringing that real present, sustained attention to the soundscape as it shifts and develops. No matter where you are in this world, no matter what time it is right now as we're sitting and practicing together, there's likely some kind of a sound making its way to your open, receptive ears. Maybe there's something extra we can let go of, a little extra efforting or striving, or tension in the body to open a little more to the sounds around us. Just hearing sound is being known. And you might get a glimpse as you sit here listening to sound of how we might respond to different sounds, this relational aspect. Noticing if there's any judging of the sound as good or bad. Trying not to get caught up in the content of the sound, not to do this kind of efforting or doing. First, there's only the sound itself. And there might be that reaction, that liking or disliking of the sound. We're funny beings. We can take sounds personally sometimes. But here's an invitation to loosen the grip, not identifying with the sound. And sounds we might usually think of as noise or distractions. Let them be opportunities for waking up, mindfulness. Kind of bell to return your attention to the present. Just listening. When the mind wanders, what am I hearing now? What is this symphony of now? This gift of the present. And just opening your awareness, really taking it in as you are part of the sounds around you. The sounds you can hear, they're right where they need to be. All the sounds of this moment belong to this moment. We don't need to manage or control them. Just tune in. Can you offer that same presence to yourself, no matter how tightly wound or contracted around certain aspects your own sense of identity might be? We can just be, rest in being, loosening up that sense a little bit. Hearing as the bell rings. I know sometimes the sound is distorted by Zoom, so I'm talking as the bell rings, so you can really hear the bell with my voice, I hope. And letting the sound of the bell ringing, which draws the practice to a close, also be a reminder to pause, to notice what may have shifted in this practice, how it may have resonated with you, what it feels like now. And opening your eyes if they've been closed, moving if that feels good to you. Noticing what kind of presence you were able to cultivate, not only by tuning within, but also sort of tuning without and opening that sense door, rolling the doors and windows open, listening to the sound. listening, even if you're in a really noisy place with sounds we might usually think of as distracting or intruding, like construction noise or landscaping things or something like that. This goes to show us it doesn't need to be quiet in order to meditate. Actually, the sound can itself be a really wonderful tool to waking up and even to kind of quieting that internal landscape. So curious to know how that practice was for anyone. And thanks again for joining me today. We'll do another day tomorrow where we look at how. The homework for today, which I will post, is when you think about developing a meditation practice, what type of person do you want to become? Just taking a moment to pause and think and articulate that sense of identity as it relates to your meditation practice. And also send me some words or images or whatever of your meditation spot. Vanessa sent me one, thank you. I'll look for a few more. So, and also if you don't mind, I might share them with others. Or even if you don't mind, if you do mind, just let me know. All right, thanks for showing up. I managed to do everything on time today, and I hope you have a lovely day and continue to cultivate that presence, that mindfulness, and maybe a peacefulness as well. All right, everybody.